please welcome my guest today, back from a stream just very recently, Alfhilde.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, folks in the chat, as always, do let me know if you have any issue hearing Alfie or myself. Make sure that this wonderful Skyrim tavern music that I've selected for us today is balanced and everything. Want to make sure that you can hear us all clearly.
Yeah.
So, Alfie, busy day for you. Busy week for you, honestly. You had a convention last weekend, had just a little bit of the con crud that you got over, and then came back with a vengeance with a busy stream both yesterday and today.
Yeah, I had a lot of things to do this week, honestly. It's been a tough past weeks, I must say so. A lot of things to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's been fun, busy at the very least, that there's definitely worse types of busy to be.
Yeah, it's been really fun, especially the convention, meeting all my friends in real life. You know, it's always interesting and new meeting. You know, it feels weird because when they talk in real life, you keep seeing like their VTuber avatar in front of you. It's really interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's going to end up being really interesting for people just at conventions, and as we end up starting to sort of meet each other in real life. Some people are interested in that, some people aren't. But I suppose that's one of just the really interesting twists that VTubing introduces to all of this.
Yeah, I just realized that my eyes look weird on the screen.
Uh-oh. Looks fine to me.
I don't know, it looks weird.
Chat, let us know, how do Alfie's eyes look today? I think they look very pretty.
Aww, thank you.
But anyways, Alfie, you are obviously known as the Viking Queen VTuber. You are someone who is very proudly Swedish, very proudly into Viking culture.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many different places we could start, but I guess one thing that sort of always tickled me a bit is the fact that your channel points are Mead points. And I am a big fan of Mead myself. That I'm someone that has always liked sweeter drinks, that I've sort of acquired a taste for beer. I enjoy a bit of bourbon or something like that. But in general, like, if I have the choice, I always liked sweeter things. At first, it was ciders. But then when I discovered Mead, everything changed. Because it's such a unique taste that you really can't get anywhere else.
No, I had the same thing. Like, I used to lean more towards like sweet wine and ciders. And in Sweden, we have a very big like cider production. We even export cider like all across the world. So some of the brands, I don't know, might be recognizable, like Kopparbergs and stuff like that. But yeah, and then I discovered Mead. Actually, this might surprise you, but Mead is not actually that big in Sweden. Did you know that?
I did not, but I guess I feel like Mead isn't super big anywhere in the world.
No, that's true. I would say it's more popular in Eastern Europe. When I went to Poland, they did have a pretty big Mead selection in their stores.
So when it comes to Mead and I suppose cider as well, do you have any favorite flavors or brands?
Oh, there is actually, because the thing is, there's not really many brands to choose from in Sweden if you want Mead. There is like 3 brands. I don't remember. There's a big bottle, and it's more like a dry mead, which I'm not really into. I like more sweet and spicy. So I usually buy a Russian mead called the Mead. It's really good. It tastes very like sweet and like a bit dark and very spicy. It's very nice. I really like it.
Nice. 2 of my favorite brands, there's one that's local to where I am, that is actually called Thorin's Viking Mead, funny enough. And it's a locally done one. I'm in the United States, I'm in Texas, and it's one that's done at a Renaissance festival and is distributed just sort of here in the state. And it's a good price, good taste, really enjoyed. The other one I like, and was actually the first mead that I I was sort of introduced to the drink with is one called Dansk Mead, and their most prolific one is actually called Viking Blood, and it's served in this very, very nice ceramic bottle. And I guess mead, like many drinks, is a very diverse drink. That there are ones that can be thicker, thinner, sweeter, ones that are a bit more tart. I usually like the ones that are a bit thicker and sweeter and really lean into just the pure honey taste. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. There is more like dry mead on the market, but it's not really my thing. So I mostly lean towards the sweeter mead as well. Actually, Dansk Mjød, it just means Danish mead.
Yeah, that they have, like I said, there's the Viking Blood. There's a couple other versions, but the Viking Blood is the one that I usually end up going for. Yeah, it's always fun. I don't get to talk mead with a lot of people, and just, whenever a streamer says, "Oh, what are people's favorite drinks?" that you always see beer, whiskey, wine. It's like mead.
Yeah.
Hey, forget about mead.
Yeah, like I don't think many people have tasted mead. Like often people come in my streams and they're like, "What does mead taste like?" And I'm like, it's sort of hard to explain. It tastes like, honey and
honey.
Honey and like a fruity wine had a baby, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like I mentioned, that mead isn't exactly huge anywhere in the world, and that even if in Eastern Europe, if that might be sort of where it's a bit more prominent, that it's always going to be sort of overshadowed by beers and traditional wines and spirits of that sort.
That's true.
That it's sort of a niche drink, but we're all out here fighting the good fight, and hopefully over time more people will come to appreciate its unique sweet flavor.
Hopefully, I'm trying to, I don't know. I have mead. I talk about mead sometimes, but not that often, to be honest. But I hope more people, if at least one person has tried mead from watching my streams, I'm very happy.
Yeah. So we have playing today, as I mentioned, some wonderful tavern music from Skyrim, which, funny enough, you were playing just before you ended your stream. That Skyrim really is sort of your game of choice.
Yeah, I really love Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls. I would say it's my favorite game series of all time, probably. Yeah.
Do you remember what build you had for your first playthrough of Skyrim?
Oh my gosh. Well, of course I think I played Skyrim 1 week after release dates.
Oh wow. And game's going on like what, 10 years now, I believe it is?
Yeah, it was 2011. I think my first character was... Oh my god, I can't remember. I think I remember using a steel sword. So yeah, I guess I used swords. Kind of boring, kind of basic. And I also realized that you could rename enchanted items. And of course, as a very mature woman, I decided to, do crude jokes on my weapons.
You wouldn't be the first.
But to be honest, I was a teenager and I was like, haha, I can name it funny things. So of course I did, Yeah. But I don't really remember. I do remember it. I think she was a Breton or a wood elf, though. I think so.
Now, over time, have you come to find a particular favorite build or just sort of, I suppose, direction to take your character? Or do you really just sort of go where the wind and your fancies take you every time you do a new playthrough?
I think it depends. Like, I basically create a new type of character every playthrough. And I would basically... Like, I know there's this meme, like, every character ends up as a stealth archer. But for me, that's not really the case. I basically have... At least in the past, when I played Skyrim, I would have, like, an idea for my character. And... basically my character had to search certain morals and certain skills. So if she was a magician, she couldn't use bows because she doesn't know how to use a bow. And she's a nice person, so she doesn't want to assassinate anyone and stuff like this, basically. So every character I would like sit for a while and I'd be like, okay, this time I'm gonna be a two-handed orc who is an alchemist. I would come up with ideas like that, basically.
Yeah. And that's really one of the big appeals to Skyrim and just open world games of that nature. The fact that there is so much creative freedom from the player perspective of not just, how you play and what quests you decide to do when and which decisions, but also the character building and all of that process. That goes particularly deep, and it definitely speaks to the game's design that it has aged so well over these past 10 years. And I think that part of it is just because the system and the world was designed to be so deep that it has this level of replayability that has allowed it this long life. But I also think part of it is the fact that it is also one of the most accessible or accessibly moddable games that even relatively quickly after its release, mods became a very big thing, and they are still a big thing today. That today you were actually having some technical difficulties with the game because you were running so many mods on it.
Yeah, well, yes, it does happen. I was very pissed. It was some kind of audio glitch. I don't know why it happened. I suspect it's because I have some audio mods installed that change the game audio, and sometimes that might lead to issues. But yeah, I really, first I played the game vanilla because when it was released, there basically wasn't any mods. And then a few weeks later, I remember one of the first mods was like fixing so you wouldn't get stuck indoors and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it's sort of community source bug fixes.
Yeah, I remember that. And I had to download it because I kept getting stuck indoors.
Yeah, that's one thing that games, not only of that sort, but just sort of games in general, sort of have nowadays. That since games are just on scale so much bigger than they used to be, and because there is now the ability to do patches, whereas it used to be, you ship a game on a disc and what you get out of the box is what you get and nothing's changing, that things are able to go out perhaps a bit less polished, but also simply given how much bigger the worlds are than they used to be, back in the N64 days or the PS1 and 2 days, that it is understandable that, the QA departments occasionally miss things.
Yeah, but for Skyrim, it's not like missing one thing. It's like the entire engine is glued together with like kindergarten glue or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there are certainly ones that you can tell were a little bit rushed, but still, obviously, they've been able to patch things up along the way, and in the end, if it has impacted the game, it's very difficult to tell just because so many people continue to play it today, and it continues to get ported as the meme goes to every given console, that even the Switch now is finally getting it, and it's like, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah, basically every console. But it's funny you say that because basically I remember it, as it was released in the beginning. And back then there were quests you couldn't complete because they were so bugged, and you had to use console commands to trigger the next series of events. I'm not even joking. Especially there's a quest in Windhelm that is infamous for breaking the game, and it's called Blood on the Ice, and you're solving a murder. And I remember that I had to use console commands to even be able to finish the quest.
Oh no.
Yes. It was so. Yeah, you might have played the Polish Skyrim, but I remember the scuff.
Alfie remembers. Pepperidge Farm remembers the scuff days of Skyrim.
Yeah, exactly. I remember the scuff days. I do.
Oh, also, I missed a bunch of follows at the start that we sort of jumped in so fast. So let me do a quick read through. Combat Wombat 42, Riz 11, Robot Man 001, Andrus the Northman, Mint Yuki May, Crafty Kaname, and Lazaborn. Thank you all so much for the follows. So yes, I suppose, do you have a favorite area of Skyrim, whether it be a particular town that you think is just well made, or maybe there's a nature locale that you think is particularly beautiful?
I think one of my favorites, in vanilla Skyrim, is probably like the base game. I would say Riften, because fall is my favorite season. I really enjoy fall. So right now, when I walk outside, I'm like, fall leaves. And like the DLCs, I would say Forgotten Vale. I don't know if you know where that is. Do you?
I do not. Honestly, one of my like gamer sins, one of my secret confessions, I've never actually played Skyrim.
Really?
I
have a
haven't.
friend who hasn't played it either,
I've
and I got
seen
so
so many people
sad.
playing it that just over the years, and obviously I hear so many stories from friends, but it's not even that I dislike that type of game or
Mm,
have avoided it, but
mm,
just when it was released, I had a Wii, so uh, or I think it was out during the Wii era, yeah, that I didn't have the console that it was released on, so I didn't get to play it
oh,
then, and then just for whatever reason, as time went on, I ended up playing other games and never actually picked up any of the given ports. So
oh
it's
my
one of
god.
those big gaps, I suppose, in my gaming knowledge to not actually be able to fully discuss the individual locales. But that's one of the things of just, I love hearing about them, because even if I haven't been there, I know these places are so just beautiful and well constructed, and like I
Yeah.
love the music of the game. I've heard a lot of the music, but I've never actually played the game myself. I'm sorry.
It's okay, don't worry. I had a revelation that one of my friends hasn't played it either, and I was like shocked. I was like, how could you? How could you do this to me? And I'm always like, on my streams when I play Skyrim, I'm like, yeah, everyone has played Skyrim, and then someone in chat is like, no, and I'm like, what? How dare you? What's happening right now? What is this? But yeah, Forgotten Vale is basically a part. Well, it's what it sounds like is a Forgotten Vale. You get there in the Dawn Guard questline, and there it's like a snowy place with some trees and unique animals, and there's like snow elf ruins. They're really cute. They're like, uh, white and gold, and there's a lot of snow there. I really like snow and like ice, and there's a waterfall and stuff. It's really nice. I just like it.
Mm-mm. And
It's very nice.
so you mentioned actually that you're a big fan of fall, and obviously 'tis the season right now that we're right in the middle of it. Even here in Texas, where things are a bit hotter than average, that things are finally starting to cool down, leaves are beginning to turn. Do you have any favorite parts of fall? Is it just the overall, temperature and atmosphere? Are you a big fan of Halloween, which is coming up next week? Anything like that?
Mhm. Well, we don't really celebrate Halloween in Sweden. It's not really a big thing. Like, at most, we have All Hallows Eve, which is like, you go to your graves and light a candle and stuff like that. But, I mean, some people do celebrate Halloween in Sweden, but it's mostly like Halloween parties, and it's not really a huge thing.
Honestly, that's what it is in the US too. That
Yeah.
that
Okay.
rather that's what it is in the US if you're above the age of 12. That if
Okay.
you're a child, trick-or-treating is absolutely a big thing,
Mm.
especially in more suburban neighborhoods. But, once you outgrow trick-or-treating, a lot of it is that people sort of just like the overall aesthetic of it, that people enjoy making jack-o'-lanterns and the overall spooky decorations.
Oh.
But other than that, the celebration of Halloween, I feel, is more in the 30 days leading up to it in October than the actual
Mm.
day of Halloween. That people do parties and whatnot, but basically that's about it. That it's a chance for people to, you know, people who don't already cosplay at every other time of the
Oh.
year, it's
I
their
see.
time to cosplay. But for a lot of my friends and a lot of people in this community who cosplay at most times of the year anyways, it's just black and orange and spooky types of cosplay, because that's sort of the seasonal thing,
Yee, I
as opposed to
understand.
actual, celebration of the quote unquote holiday itself.
Yeah. I don't know, but I would say my favorite part of fall is like when the leaves are like bright orange and
Mm,
there's like a lot of orange leaves on the ground and everything looks like fluffy from the leaves. Does that make sense? And I
yeah,
also
yeah.
really, in Sweden, you can go mushroom hunting anywhere, like as long as it's not like on someone's like lawn.
I've never
Like,
heard the term mushroom hunting before. That I can basically infer what you're talking about, but I've never heard,
what do I don't know.
picking mushrooms as mushroom hunting.
I don't know, like mushroom foraging. I don't know the English word.
No, that just I the term that you're using there is not an inaccurate one, but I guess
Yeah.
in general, hunting slash foraging slash picking mushrooms is not a
Mm.
very big thing here in the
Really?
US.
Not?
No.
Oh, I didn't know. No, in Sweden, like we have a big culture, especially because we have something called allemansrätten, which means the right to roam, basically. So you can go anywhere. Just you could basically stop your car anywhere, and you could just go in there and just pick like whatever you want, like mushrooms,
Yeah,
berries,
it's
whatever.
public property.
Well, someone probably owns it, but it's fine. It's legal. Like, usually if there are lots of pine trees, whatever, there is someone who owns the land. But they use it to grow trees and nothing else, basically.
Huh. That's super
Yeah,
cool. So,
yeah.
are there a lot of different types of mushrooms around, or is it, one or two particular species?
No, there's a lot of mushrooms, like different. Like there are people. Like I would say the most popular ones are like chanterelles and porcini mushrooms. Now there are different varieties of chanterelle mushrooms. There are, I don't know the English names, I'm sorry, but one is called a trumpet chanterelle, and they're more black, and they're used for sauces and spices. And the chanterelles that are normal are like orange. They look very funny. Porcini mushrooms, they look chunky, and they have a small hat on top. And then there's like morels and like more mushrooms that look like sea corals almost. But
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah. But the thing is, usually people just pick porcini and chanterelles because the other mushrooms require more like knowledge. And actually, it does happen every year that some people they pick the wrong mushroom and they end up in the ER. It has
Yeah, they
happened.
accidentally get the poisonous varieties.
Yeah. So it does unfortunately happen. But some people they are really into mushroom hunting, and it's like my grandma. She's like an expert, and we would go every year and just mushroom hunt, and it was really awesome. So I learned a lot from her. I'm able to like pretty confidently pick up mushrooms, but I always have a book with me or an app or anything.
Yeah, just to double check.
Yeah, and if I'm unsure, like if you're unsure, never pick it. Don't pick it.
Yeah,
Like if
better
you,
safe than sorry.
yeah, don't eat. And of course, berries are much easier because there's only like blueberries, lingonberries, and cloudberries, but those are only up in the north. They don't grow south. And there's also another berry. I can't remember what it's called, but it's extremely rare. I can't remember the last one.
At least in the US, it's not, I wouldn't call it a huge thing, but depending on which region you live in, that something like berry picking or apple picking or things of that nature are things that people do in the fall. Most people don't pick from their own trees on their own land, but there are a lot of different large farms around, depending on where you live, that will allow you to, for a fee, you can come in, pick your own berries and produce, and then you purchase based on the weight of everything that you've got and stuff like that. So I've done that for, like berries, pumpkins, apples, things like that, but never for mushrooms. So that's really interesting for me to hear. And obviously the fact that it's something that you can just sort of go around, and it's not necessarily that you need to go to a farm and buy them, that just out and about you can just forage and hunt and pick as you please. So when you and your grandmother and other family members would do that, do you sort of just hop in the car and drive around the neighborhood or a particular area where you know that they are, or are there certain like hotspot locations where a lot of people go?
That's a spicy topic you're walking towards right
Oh
there. But
dear.
I'll tell you. But yeah, basically my grandmother she already lives in the forest. She has 2 neighbors, and the walk to town is like, of course you're an American, but it's like 3 kilometers to town. That's quite far. And then it's only woods. So basically, we just walk across the streets, and then we go into the forest. And there's a really dense forest there, like incredibly dense. Like people have gotten lost there. I'm not even joking. There was a case, I think 10 years ago where a woman went missing and they still haven't found her. So I'm
Oh
a bit
dear.
paranoid every time I go there. I'm like, what if I stumble upon her? Like, so I'm a bit, yeah. But basically, we go there, and then we have some few hotspots that we go to, and usually there's mushrooms there. Some years it's too dry, so there's no mushrooms, and we will pretty much go to the same like lingonberry and blueberry place every year, because that's where they are and that's where they grow. But sometimes we do go in the car, especially if we go with like my grandmother's sister and stuff. And we would just go picking. And it's interesting that you say you go to a farm, because now like these berries, you can't grow them in farms. Like Swedish blueberries and lingonberries, you cannot grow them in farms. I don't think it's possible even. You have to pick them in the wild. So if we buy them from the grocery store here, they are picked by usually foreign workers, and they're from the wild. Yeah.
That's really interesting, and just it's always fun to hear about different cultures, and especially when it's fun topics like this that forget politics, forget other stuff. It's all about the berries and
It's
the
all about
produce
the
and the
mushrooms.
cooking.
Yeah, and I have a lot of memories about mushrooms, and going like picking mushrooms and go walking in the forest. Sometimes you would see moose or like other animals, because we have moose in Sweden, of course.
Mhm.
And then we come home and she fries them in butter, and we eat them, and it's so good, like tasty,
So
It's
you
very
usually just have them simple with butter, or do you usually put them in other recipes, or do you maybe just pick a whole bunch, have a few with butter, and then put some in the recipes, some in the refrigerator, and just eat at them over a week or something?
it depends on how much we get, but like usually we would make an omelette with them, or a stew,
Ooh.
or like a sauce, or we would just fry them with butter and put them on a fancy loaf of bread, like sourdough bread, and it's really good. And if there are many, we usually fry them and then we put them in the freezer.
Mm. What's your favorite recipe to do with mushrooms?
To be honest, I'm pretty like boring. I prefer omelets or just on sourdough bread, like fried in a
There's
enormous
nothing
amount
wrong
of
with that.
butter.
Simple things are good, and there's a reason that just the simple things like that endure over the years.
Yeah, I really love it. And the lingonberries usually they are cooked with sugar and turned into jam.
Ooh, oh yeah, fresh
And we eat
jam
them
is
with
just a
meatballs.
special thing that if it, not a lot of people, myself included, know how to make fresh jam. But if I ever
Really?
go to, it's just not something I ever learned to do growing up. That
It's not
I
that hard.
grew up in a suburban area where we didn't, have a lot of berry bushes or anything around. So the only time that
Oh,
I would ever really get those types of fresh berries would be in the fall, where a couple times a year, well, usually like once or twice, I say a couple, and that we would pick some, but we never ended up making jam or anything with them. So it's just not really an experience that I've had.
I see. I don't know, like, I don't know. I grew up with my grandma. I lived in the countryside for 2 years, so I'm pretty used to like um making like jams and pickled cucumbers. And when we got potatoes, we wouldn't buy them from the grocery store. I would go down in the basement and get the potatoes that we grew ourselves.
Mm.
So it's a bit different. And we would we had like a barn, and we would hang all the onions from the roof to dry. But it looked kind of creepy, like especially if you went there at night, there would just be onions hanging
Yeah,
from the
just
ceiling.
these random little orbs hanging
Yeah, just a
around.
random mysterious orb. Looks very ominous. But I don't know. I'm just used to that kind of life, I guess. Yeah. So I know how to do things like that, I suppose.
Yeah. Now, one thing you were talking about on stream just the other day, actually, was Swedish cuisine. And I know
Yeah.
that cooking in general, whether it's with the things that you have picked or things that you have bought at a grocery store, is something that you really enjoy. And it's one of the things that I've learned sort of as a surprise hosting the show is just how many VTubers are really into cooking.
Yeah, it surprised me too. A lot of VTubers really like cooking, apparently.
Yeah. So for you, and especially given that you're really into Swedish cuisine, what are some of your favorite recipes?
Oh my god,
It's a big
I don't
question,
know.
I know.
Usually, I really like gravlax. It's a kind of cured salmon with
Ooh.
dill. It's really tasty.
Oh,
I
I am
just
a big
usually,
fan of fish in general.
yeah,
I don't
I
think I've
love
ever had
gravlax,
a fish that I didn't enjoy.
and then usually have it on a sandwich or just by itself with
Mm.
potatoes and sour cream and dill, I guess. Yeah. And then I just meatballs, I guess. And then we have another dish called dillkött, which is basically like calf meat, like baby cow meat, you know.
Mm-mm.
And it's basically in a creamy dill sauce, and then it's served with vegetables and potatoes. It's really good. It's really, really good. My grandma makes it, and it's so good. Like I miss it so much. Um, and then there are a few things I like Swedish Christmas ham. Like it's like it's basically covered in mustard
Oh, okay.
and
Because I
baked
was
in the
going to
oven.
ask what makes it Swedish in particular, because I know Christmas ham is a thing that is pretty big in the United States and other countries as well. So the variation that makes it Swedish here is the inclusion of mustard.
I don't know. It's just like you bake it in mustard, and some people put honey on it and sugar and stuff, and then it becomes like crusty and tasty, you know. And then it's kind of salty as well. I don't know. I really like it. Usually, what we do, at least like what we do in my family. I don't know what other Swedish people do, but we have this huge ham, and then we like eat it for Christmas. But then, of course, it never, gets eaten completely because it's so big. So usually we would eat it. We would put it in the. How do I explain this? It's not a balcony. It's like how do I explain? It's like a seating area indoors, but it's not insulated. How do I explain that? I don't know. But anyway, we would
Sort
use
of
this
like,
as a
I guess, like a screened-in porch or an enclosed patio type of thing.
yeah, like the enclosed patio. It's pretty common in Sweden, especially in the countryside. So in the winter, we use this as a giant fridge slash freezer. So we put all our food out there. And so we would go and eat the ham over a couple of days, like on a sandwich. Usually you put the Christmas ham on the sandwich and you put mustard, even more mustard on top of it, and then you eat it. It's really, really good. It's amazing.
Yeah, that I'm very familiar with the cooking too much for the big event and then having it as leftovers for the next week.
Oh
That
yeah, that's
just,
the typical Swedish Christmas experience.
oh
It's
yeah.
terrible, and then you never want to eat it again.
Yeah, well, yeah, by the end of that week, you're kind of sick of it, and that's okay because you're not going to have it again for a year.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. But yeah, and I also really like fried herring with onions. It's really good.
Ooh, herring
Really
is something
tasty.
I've only had a couple of times. That it's not rare, I suppose, but it's not something that is prominent in American cooking. That salmon is something that is very, very common.
Yeah.
Trout and other whitefish as well, but herring, just for one reason or another, I suppose it isn't particularly prominent here. But you do see it every so often.
I see. But I don't know. We have a lot of herring in our cuisine because Sweden used to be an extremely poor country. So most of the time, the only like meat family could afford was like cheap fish or like pig's feet and stuff like that. I know it's really depressing. um, yeah, we have like pickled herring, fried herring, and it's really good. I really like it. Pickled herring, I don't know, man. It's okay. I'm not a big fan. I don't know. The only pickled herring I like is the mustard kind, and the other ones are sauce. I don't like them. It's kind of sauce.
Now, on the broader topic of cooking and history, one thing that you mentioned to me when we spoke earlier in the week that I never knew about you and that apparently doesn't come up a ton in your streams is that something you do in your free time is participate in World War II reenactments.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
part of this involves costumes, but part of it also includes cooking
It's
for
true.
the troops and whatnot that are in these reenactments. And
Yeah.
I have to imagine that doing World War II reenactment cooking is entirely different from every other type of cooking we have discussed so far.
It is. I mean, it's pretty much the same, except you're standing, and you have limited space, and lacking a huge lack of hygiene, I guess. And but yeah, we have like a big cooking wagon. I don't know how to explain it. Other than that, it's a kind of wagon that you can use gas, or sometimes it's wood. It depends on how old it is. And some of these are preserved and they're still usable today. And basically, they would roll these out in the field, and then the female volunteers would cook. And they would make like pea soup. You could make something called fläskpannkaka, which is like basically a kind of pork pancake. I don't know how to explain it. It's a fluffy kind of pancake.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good though, and yeah. So that's what I've done a couple of times. You can even fry things on it. You can fry sausages on it. It's pretty epic.
How did you end up getting into that? The World War II reenactments are a very specific thing, and obviously World War II reenactments and war reenactments in general are a thing that exist in the United States as well, and even here it is still a niche hobby that you usually need to get into it either because of a family member or a friend, or because you have a very particular interest in that period in history. How did you end up getting into that?
Oh, I don't know how to answer. Like, basically, ever since I was a young bean and I went to the Swedish Army Museum as a young bean, I was like, fuck, I want to do this. Like, I looked at everything and I was so amazed, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god. And then I saw the female volunteer uniforms and I was like in love, and I was like, one day I want to have one of those. I want one of those. But at the time, I didn't really understand that other people had the same interest. I thought I was just weird. And of course, I kept, having this little dream inside of me. And then I started like getting more like, I don't know, reading about more normative history. Like, I kept reading about World War II, but I kept the reenactment dreams on hold. And then I saw people reenacting Vikings, and I was like, wait, this is something people do?
This is an
Like,
option?
This is an option? This is a thing? And then I started talking with them, and then they told me that, yeah, basically people reenact anything. And I was like, anything? Anything? And then I found a girl on Instagram that had a bunch of uniforms, and I was like amazed. I was like, oh my god, she's my idol. And I kept fangirling her so hard. Eventually, I ended up meeting her, and I was so shy, I couldn't say anything. But we ended up talking, and I asked her, how do I get the uniform? And she told me to thrift shop like crazy and watch the online auction sites, because for Swedish stuff, there is no reproduction at all. Like, either you find a real thing or you sew it yourself. There's no options. Like, that's it. And so all my things are original. And anyway, so yeah, I ended up finding things, and then now this girl is my best friend.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I know, right? It was really cool. And actually, that's also how I ended up in one of the Swedish army bands as well.
What do you play?
I play the bugle, or trumpets. It's pretty cool.
Oh, awesome. I played trombone for many years. Haven't had a chance to play in the past 4 or 5 years or so since I moved on my own, and you can't exactly practice in a small apartment because the neighbors will complain.
Yeah, I have what's it called? I don't know what it's called in English. Those sound things you put on the trumpet.
Mouthpiece?
No, like the plug, so it sounds
mute?
Yeah, a mute. I have one of those, so it kind of works. But the thing is, my dog, she gets worried every time I play the trumpet. Like, she thinks it's dangerous.
It is a very... I have to imagine for a dog, it's a very concerning sound to hear.
Yeah, she's like, it's a dying animal. It's a dying animal. But yeah, it was really cool. And of course, it felt weird that this girl that I fangirled on Instagram for like 5 years, suddenly I'm her best friend. That was a bit weird. It just sort of happened. Um, I looked at, they're like a small gang of people. And I always looked at their Instagram pictures and I was like, I want to be them. I want to be them. And then finally, I am with them. And it was so fun. I really like it. Yeah.
Full circle. So
yeah,
when you do these
finally.
reenactments, how many people would you say on average are participating? Is this something where it's a couple dozen people? Is it 100?
Okay, this is a hard question to answer. There used to be a very big event in Sweden where they would have airplanes and everything. It was called Skål. This was, however, disbanded because it got so popular that they couldn't control it anymore.
Oh no!
It's kind of sad.
Suffering from success.
Yeah, basically. And now they have tried to reestablish some events, but honestly, it's not going too well. I think the last one I went to was in 2019, and there was probably about 50 reenactors, I'd say. And
well, that's not small, but also I suppose the past year and a half being what it's been has probably not allowed for many things of that nature to, happen anyways. So if it was on the decline, the past year and a half probably did not help.
Yeah, there's been no events at all, almost, at least not in Sweden. And then so there's, of course, there's not only people who reenact Swedish stuff. I would say we're in the minority. Most of the people, they reenact German stuff from World War II. So there's a group of Swedish people who pretend to be Germans, and then they are the biggest group. Then we have British, Swedish people pretending to be British, and then we have Russians as well. Russians is the smallest one. Yeah.
So once again, I want to thank a couple other people that have followed in the past little while. Yuki Chaos Incarnate, Kirkus, and Erkberger, thank you so much for the follows. Alfie, do you think you would ever consider getting a Swedish military outfit for your VTuber model?
Yes, I've been thinking about it, but I think I'm gonna modify it a little bit. I want a cap with a fox face on it and stuff like that.
Oh
so
yeah, keep the fox and still make it you.
Yeah, I don't want to come across as looking like. I don't want to look fastest, I guess.
Yeah, that too. Yes, yeah. Yes, you definitely want to do it in a tasteful way.
But of course, the Swedish uniforms don't really look dangerous. They look very different from everything else. So, it's not really the same. Yeah, I'll probably take inspiration from them. I have so many uniforms at home that I can just photograph and take inspiration from. So, it might happen. But the thing is, also outfits are expensive.
Very true.
Maybe
very
one
true.
day. Maybe one day. And I have some things I want to do. I want to have a casual outfit. I want a bikini for next summer. It's hard.
That's the struggle for VTubers. That there's so many options, but they take time, they take money. So you have to be very selective about what you go with.
Yeah, it's very hard. You have to pick what you want to do, Yeah. And also my next, I'm gonna get a model update actually. So I'm gonna redo my model. But it will probably still look very similar, but it will have more of a battle vibe to it anyway.
Ooh, Battle Viking.
Yeah. Battle.
So, are there any other types of reenactments or sort of historical hobbies that you have or ones that you are looking to get into?
Well, I do want to get more into the British reenactment scene. I want to get a British uniform and stuff like this because they have events in the UK that are quite big. And I'd love to go one day. And also, of course, to the American ones and stuff like that. And also maybe one day go to a Viking reenactment event. Yeah, I don't know. But other than that, I'm not really sure. And it's not really in Sweden. I've heard in the US it's a bit different. People have characters and whatever. But honestly, in Sweden, we just get drunk. Okay, Like we don't really. Of course, when the public is there, we try to like. I'm not exactly in character, but I tell people what we do and try
Yeah,
to be
that you
informative
aren't
and stuff.
playing a particular named soldier, but you are
No,
in
no.
character in that you are acting as someone who is a representative of the army would be.
No, we just sort of like walk around and I don't know, talk with her. I don't know. And sometimes people do very reenactment stuff. Like there was a Russian, like of course he's actually Swedish, but you know there was a Russian who had like they had like tents and they had like a campfire and they were making borscht and they were listening to Russian music on an old radio and stuff like that. And they were sitting there in silence. So sometimes people do stuff like that, but it's not exactly like, you know, in character as much, I'd say.
Yeah. It's half role play in a way that you aren't, fully embracing that type of character, but that you're trying to whoop,
Sorry,
bounce around for a second there.
I was drinking water, so sometimes it does that.
But yeah, that reenactments are a really interesting hybrid of, sort of acting and role play and that sort of thing.
Yeah, basically. I don't know how to explain it, but when I talk with other reenactors, they're surprised. Like, they're like, what? Is that how you do it in Sweden? I'm like, yeah. Like, I don't know. It's just not a big aspect of like role playing. It's not a big aspect. And as soon as the public leaves, I'll be honest with you, would you bring out the vodka?
Oh yeah, of course. Once the audience is gone, there's no need to pretend or do anything like that. It's like, all right, let's have a good time.
Basically, yeah. And sometimes they have like a dance floor and they play old music so you can dance and stuff. It's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah. In some ways, I suppose they almost feel like mini conventions. And speaking of conventions, like we said earlier, you actually were at one just last weekend.
That is true. I was at the convention. It already feels like so long ago. I don't know. But it was just last week. It's pretty crazy.
Any particularly fun memories from that?
I was very clumsy at times. I got a bit too drunk and I fall over something in the street. The fun thing is, before I fell over, I was saying, mommy, sorry, and then I started like, and I fell over. Mid-sentence. It was pretty hilarious. What else? Of course, meeting my friends. I met Uni for the first time, Civ for the first time. I hadn't met them before. It was very sweet. They were so kind to me. And I didn't expect that because when you meet someone for the first time, you never know, what to expect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was pretty surprised that it went really well and we just seemed to vibe and everything was really comfy and successful, I guess. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'm hoping that as things hopefully continue to improve on, a global level after this past year and a half or so, that conventions will continue to come back in force. That I am somebody who absolutely loves conventions and has worked conventions, and it was a really, really big part of my life up until, early last year. So it's very exciting to me to see sort of the world healing, and one of the big indicators of that for me is that conventions are starting to happen again, that it's starting with the smaller ones, with the local ones, but I'm really hoping that by, summer next year that we're gonna be able to mostly get back into the full swing of things, because there are some people that I only ever really get to see at conventions, and I'm looking forward to being able to see them again. And I know I'm definitely not the only one that sort of is waiting for that.
No, I know. Yeah, there's been a huge, I guess, social stalemate, sort of. Like, not much events happening, and a lot of people haven't seen their friends in a very long time. So I'm really glad I got to go, and of course meet new people. And also it reminded me, because I used to go to conventions a lot in my early teens. I used to go every year. It was like a religion for me, basically. So going to conventions now as an older woman, I'm not old, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. We're not
It's,
the crazy teens we used to be.
yeah, I'm more like I'm feeling old sometimes because all these younger people, they just walk around and do everything, and I'm like, God, I need to sit down. Grandma needs to sit down. Where's the chair? Excuse me, can I sit here? I don't know. I feel like, where do people get this energy from? So sometimes, especially at Dokomi, the German convention I went to this summer, I felt like, God, I need a chair like all the time. But I was still very excited, especially for the artist alley and see all those artists and their creations. It was very nice.
Yeah. As a whole, I feel like VTubing really hit its stride.
Yeah.
Partially, I think, because of the fact that people haven't been able to meet in person this past year, and that people have been at home and have had more time. And I think that's part of what helped to really catalyze VTubing and made it as big as it is right now. And in general, it's been that sort of social outlet for a lot of people, and I know that I'm definitely among them, that honestly, Vtuber Talk wouldn't exist, most likely, if I had had all of the things and commitments and conventions that I used to go to happening as actively this past year. So it's cool that it has allowed for people to have this sort of different experience and to make new friends and have these different experiences even when we haven't been able to do the things that we normally would do. But
Yeah.
now, as things start to get back on track, it's really cool seeing these things begin to merge, because you mentioned Dokumi, that it really is one of the first conventions, at least one of the first ones that I heard of, that began to have a very big VTuber presence. That, if memory serves, isn't that the convention that has had several HoloLive concerts?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I've seen they have had several. Some even were broadcasted online, I think, which is pretty cool. So more people can watch them in the pandemic for people who can't go to the concerts physically and stuff. That's pretty cool.
And this is now giving rise to a whole new type of convention guest that usually, as a convention organizer, when you have a guest, you need to worry about, all right, flying somebody in, and if they're from another country, do they need a visa? Then you need to worry about hotels and making sure that they're fed, that they have a handler on site so they don't get bothered by attendees. But with VTubers, that it, from the convention point of view, is a lot easier because it's cheaper, that they don't need to worry about flights or hotels or anything like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And for the guests themselves, it's a lot easier because they don't need to commit an entire, 2, 3, 4 days to traveling and then going around and being at panels and making sure that they have all this coordination done, that they can just, all right, boot up their stream and go to either whatever private room that they are broadcasting from, or just broadcast publicly, like you mentioned. And then when they're done, they can go back and do their normal work or do their normal streams, and that they can still get paid for, their appearance fees and everything, and be able to do that sort of promotion and publicity for themselves without having to take all the time and effort out that a normal in-person convention guest would have to do. So it's really a win-win for both sides.
I didn't realize, I've only been at the convention as an attendee, and now because I went with my friends and they have a booth, I didn't realize how much work it is. I was like,
oh yeah, there's
I was exhausted with
that
them.
goes behind the scenes.
With them, yeah. And of course, I got to meet some fans, not that many, but there was actually one person who went in my Twitch chat afterwards and was like, "Oh my god, I met you and I didn't realize it." And I was like, "Really?" Like, I speak like this in real life too. I think it would be pretty noticeable, but okay. So yeah, that happened. But yeah, it's very exhausting but very rewarding, especially seeing of course it was difficult for me because it was the first time I've had someone literally physically shake in front of me while handing me a chocolate super nervously.
Oh, that's so cute.
I'm some sort of idol, and I'm like, what? I'm just a person, man. It was very cute, and the chocolate was delicious. I want more. It was so good.
Yeah, I remember you did well, not a face cam stream, but you did sort of a desk stream when you got back and showed people sort of your room, and I remember you held up the chocolate for the camera and were enjoying it, saying that it was very, very good.
Yeah, it was so good. I want more of it. Like, I'm not just saying that to be nice. I actually mean it. I've been looking for it online even. So yeah. But yeah, watching, like, showing people my desk and stuff is very cool, especially because I would say most of the things I have here on my desk are from people, my viewers. So that's pretty cool. Like, partially my viewers built my background, I guess. So that's pretty awesome. Like, I can look over and I can be like, yo, this person gave me this, and then I think of them a little bit. You know, it's pretty wholesome.
Yeah.
I like it.
And your background had a bunch of different things. That you have a new keyboard, which has been providing some ASMR content. That is a very audible keyboard for sure. But there's also been, you had different anime figures in the background and things of that sort. That I remember. Oh gosh, I think that one of them was. Shoot, now I'm actually blanking it. I had, and then it popped away. Can you remind me? There was like one particular figurine that was really visible in the background.
Oh, I don't know which one you mean, but I have Utena.
Utena, that was the one.
Yeah, I have Utena, and also I'm a big Miku fan. But Utena is a bit unusual, I guess. There actually isn't a lot of figures of her. This is one of the few ones that exist. It's quite rare as well.
Do you recall where you got it? That if it is one that was, a bit rarer, did you have to search for it, or was it one that was?
Basically, I bought it on a Japanese website called Mekari, which is like a secondhand site. I found it there for like $60, and the box was very damaged, but I didn't care. I just wanted the figure.
As long as the figure is okay, that you are not a keep in box figure type of person.
No, not at all. Japanese people are very interesting when they sell secondhand stuff. If something is slightly damaged, even the smallest stain, they will zoom in on it, draw a red circle around it, just so you know that it's damaged, and then they will drastically lower the price. It's quite funny, but meanwhile, if you buy something on a Swedish secondhand store, it's like, it's stained, but it's only €5 less. Okay, deal with it.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's like in Japan at all.
Yeah, the need for perfection in Japanese collecting culture is, I feel, a bit harsher than it is for other collecting cultures.
Harsh. It's extremely. I collect Lolita fashion as well. Like I dress in Japanese Lolita fashion, and there it's even worse. Smallest stain, and you will get the reduction of your life. I'm not even joking. And sometimes I bought things. I've even been able to remove the stains just by scrubbing a little bit. I'm like, what the fuck? Why didn't you do that yourself?
This wasn't that bad.
Yeah, this doesn't as bad. No, I don't understand. But yeah, it's nice because, I can get a discount. There was one instance, though. I have a Toho figure, and she's Yomu. It's a character with gray hair and a green dress. And when I got her, I opened it, and the worst tobacco smell ever hit me. It was horrible. I almost, I got nauseous. I was like, oh my Jesus. Oh my God.
And that can be difficult to get out because you need either some really intense air fresheners, and it's something that you can't exactly, hand scrub a figurine to sort of try and wash off or remove the smell like that, because you'll likely either scratch it or chip the paint or something of that nature. So what did you end up doing for that?
Oh my God. Okay, so I don't really exactly remember, but I think what I did was that I basically used a very mild soap, and I tried to scrub her very gently so I wouldn't damage the paint or anything. And then after that, I think I did maybe 5 soap baths. And the first soap baths, the water was gray. I'm not even joking. It was disgusting.
Wow.
And then, but to be fair, I got a big discount on it. But I still emailed them, and I was like, "Yo, what the fuck?"
It's one thing when you have the physical, the visible deficiencies or just imperfections, but it's entirely different when it's a smell that I don't think I've ever actually heard of someone getting a collectible or a delivery, and that
Mm.
the imperfection that they had to deal with was a smell.
It was horrible, and then I ended up throwing away the package. Sadly, I don't have the original packaging anymore. It smelled too bad. I couldn't save it, and then I ended up just drying it, putting it in a plastic bag, and putting it in my dad's garage so it could like air out a little bit. And then eventually the smell went away. But yeah, that was the worst figure adventure I ever had.
Yikes.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you
It's very
to
bad.
Jelly9447 and Babu for the follows.
Wow. Thank you.
So you mentioned that this particular figure actually was a Toho figure, and that actually leads us really easily into the next topic, because one of your other favorite games outside of Skyrim, or rather, I suppose, series, not particular games, is Toho, and that's not one that you really, or at least not that I've seen, really played on stream, but obviously Toho, especially for people who, aren't in their teens anymore, that Toho is very steeped in early internet culture, and it's something that I haven't played any Toho games, but oh goodness do I know Toho, and that everything from just, Cyrano's Perfect Math Class, or just different fan animations and songs and compilations, that it is a culture unto itself, and you're certainly not the first guest that I have had that is very much into Toho. So do you have a favorite either, character, song, iteration, fan creation when it comes to the Toho series?
Oh my god. Of course, I'm a Yomu stan. I like Yomu a lot. She's my wife. I think she's my favorite character. Mostly because of her design, honestly, and also because she's a badass. And then I really like Raisin as well. I have a Raisin figure. I like all the moon bunnies quite a lot. Actually, I named my real life bunny after Tevi from Toho.
Also,
her name is Tevi.
I've been hearing a rattling in the background every so often. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the bunny.
It's the bunny. Sorry, I can.
Right. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. This is not the first time that a pet has been a guest star on Vtuber Talk. There have been multiple cats. There's been a dog before. It is okay. So, is she, like running on a wheel or something, or what?
No, he's actually shooing the fence. I don't know how to explain it, because he wants like treats.
Oh, yep. Hello. We hear you, Yomu.
I will give him something so he can be quiet. Okay. I will just go BRB a little bit.
Sure. Well, that is being taken care of. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you are all enjoying this so far, while Alfie goes to take care of little Yomu for a moment here. Yes, that definitely was the rattling that we were hearing, because I heard that earlier on. It was like, okay, she had mentioned that she had the rabbit. I'm guessing that's what it is, because it's definitely not happening on my end. But like I mentioned, pets on Vtuber Talk are a thing, and it's always fun to hear the pets, even if they aren't expected.
No, he's very demanding. He always wants snack, always wants pets. Sometimes he will even chew just because he wants pets. So
you have to get your attention somehow.
Yeah, it's true. He's very cranky sometimes. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, we were talking about Toho.
Yeah.
I named one of my bunnies after Tevi. She's a great bunny. She's very cute. She's kind of old now, though. But yeah. And my favorite game is 13. Toho 13 is my favorite game. As for song, actually, I have one, but I don't remember the name because it's like something. Let me see if I can remember it.
Now, is Toho a series that you haven't really played on stream because you just sort of like to have that as something that you relax with when you're not streaming, or have you not been able to find a way to stream it well because of, technology reasons?
No, I don't know. I just never done it. I don't know why. Because I really love Toho and I would love to play the games, and I'm sure people would like it, but it's just like I played Toho Luna Nights, which is like a platforming game, but it was so hard that I rage quit.
Oh no.
So yeah. But my favorite song is called Mami Soule's theme, or yeah, Mami Soule's theme. So she's a Tanuki character, and I don't know. It's basically very. There's a few drums in there. It's very funky. I don't know. I really like it. Maybe a weird favorite song, but because most people would probably say like, Owen Owen or whatever. I don't know. So like, or like Bad Apple, whatever. Like, but no, I have this particular song I really like.
That's interesting. So you've played bugle. Now I suppose jumping back to bugle for a moment, is it something that you've only played in those reenactment bands, or is playing bugle or trumpet something that you've done in a more traditional orchestral sense as well?
Oh yeah, I've played trumpet since I was 6 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so a long time. And I've been in a few bands and like, with my music school and we had like groups first and then I was in a music band. But I don't know. As an adult, I just ended up going towards military music more. It might be because I'm a little bit lazy. Because when you play bugle, you don't need to memorize it. Like you don't need to read notes. You just need to memorize the sound.
Military marches are a bit simpler than symphonies.
Actually, it's just signals that I play. They're very short.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but for like ceremonial purposes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But sometimes problems occur, like freezing temperatures, and you as a trombone player.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, I've played in marching bands, and that includes in freezing temperatures. And for anyone who isn't a brass player and isn't familiar with the struggles of playing an instrument in the cold, it's sort of twofold. That first off, your lips are just more prone to chapping because the air is dry and that the elements are going to wear on your lips faster. And the way that you play a brass instrument is by buzzing your lips, just going and making them vibrate in that way. So it's harsher on your lips. But then there's also the fact that the mouthpieces on brass instruments traditionally are metal. That there are plastic mouthpieces that you can get.
Yeah, they're a bit better for the cold.
Yeah, I have used them in the past, and they are just their magnitudes more comfortable in the cold. But if you're a purist, or if you're doing like a competition style band, that the sound that they create is ever so slightly different from what you get from a metal mouthpiece. So if you're in one of the more rigid like competition bands, or if you're doing something for a really important performance, most of the time people will just grit and bear it and use the metal mouthpiece. But then the other risk is I've never seen anyone like get their lips stuck on the thing, because there's always the stereotype of like licking a pole or something when it's cold and getting your tongue stuck. I've never seen that happen, but it is deeply uncomfortable to be playing against really cold things. And if you're playing consistently, you can keep it warm. But then if you stop for 5 minutes, it's just frozen again. You have to restart.
Yeah.
And
it's so hard. Like I once had an incident where it was 18 minus Celsius.
Oh my gosh.
That's very cold. And I had stood outside for 1 hour with my instrument. 1 hour with a brass instrument. And then they asked me to play something. I just looked at them and I was like, look, there's no way any tuten is gonna come out from this thing.
Nope.
Like,
because the instruments themselves are metal too. That in these, it's not something that you can see with the eye, but like I mentioned of how plastic and metal mouthpieces can have slightly different sounds, that in the cold, the instrument itself will have a slightly different sound because the metal itself is going to contract. It's an imperceptible thing from the eye, but to a trained musical ear, you can tell when a horn is cold versus when it's hot. And for those of us who do not use Celsius, -18 Celsius is -0.5 degree in Fahrenheit. So very, very cold.
Yeah, very cold. I wasn't wearing gloves either, I might add.
Oh no, that's the worst. And especially for you, because you're a trumpet player, that at least me as a trombonist, I just need to sort of, if I can, have a claw for a hand, I'm fine. But for either someone who plays trumpet or tuba or baritone, anything that has valves, being able to move your fingers accurately and comfortably without gloves is not fun.
It's not. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's really hard to be in tune when the instrument is so cold. It's almost impossible to hit the notes for me. I don't know why that is, but it's just like everything becomes like just off.
Yeah, I believe it gets a bit sharper is the way it goes usually in the cold, if memory serves.
So weird.
And that's just because the metal is contracting that little imperceptible bit, and that sound is so sensitive.
I was just like, nah, there's no way.
Nope.
I think I ended up tooting 2 notes, and then I was done. I was like, this is all you're getting from me. Goodbye.
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
I had a couple experiences in marching band where, I've played in the snow, where, I was playing in college at a football game, and it was actually, I remember it was Halloween. Ooh. Funny enough, it was a Halloween game, and it started snowing. And where I grew up, or where I went to college in Maryland at the time, snow in October in Maryland is not common. Not common at all. So
oh my God.
The band and the attendees and the football team were all just like, okay, this is different. Meanwhile, the band's like, oh no. Everyone else is just thinking, oh, it's pretty, it's cold. And the band is just watching the pretty flakes drop from the sky in horror.
Everyone's like, no. No, how dare you? Brass instrument players go, no.
Nope, it's a bad day.
It's a bad day. But yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And also I have the issue, like, because I'm a small woman, fitting into the band uniforms is really hard. They're always too big for you.
Oh yeah, that definitely. The bands that I've been in, since they're usually larger bands, that you're able to get things fitted, but I definitely know that if you are either taller than average or shorter than average, you're definitely going to have to get your uniform tailored and modified so that you're able to actually, have something fit. And if you are working in a smaller band that doesn't have a lot of uniforms, that getting something to fit properly can be a hassle.
It's impossible. But yeah. So that is a bit of things I've done, I suppose.
Yeah, and you actually have a really broad interest in music because you have played military music, you've played at least a bit of symphonic music, but when it comes to things that you listen to, you mentioned that your favorite from Toho was a funky one, but you're also really into jazz and metal music.
Yeah,
and these are all very different types of music.
I listen to basically everything almost, except I'm not that into country, I suppose. That's not really my thing. Yeah. But yeah, I listen to a lot of jazz, like, of course, Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, and that kind of stuff. I really like it.
And just jazz players in general, I think, are more prone to getting into, brass players in general are more prone to getting into jazz music, because brass is such a prominent part of jazz, and especially you mentioned Louis Armstrong, just prolific trumpet player, makes absolute sense why you'd be into him. So any favorite songs of his, or have you actually been able to play in any jazz bands, or is it just something for listening for you?
No, I just listen to it. I don't know. If I have a favorite song, I think it would be Dream a Little Dream of Me. I know that's Ella Fitzgerald, but yeah, I really like it. It's great. And also there's a few Swedish jazz singers as well. There's one called Monica Ceterlund. She actually went to the US and sang there.
Ooh, neat. I will admit, I have not heard that name before.
I'm pretty sure she sang with another, I can't remember which American jazz singer she sang with. I'm gonna try to find out now, like scuff moments. But yeah, she's very famous in Sweden, but probably not very. Oh yeah, she actually sang with Louis Armstrong once.
Oh, well, there you go. Collabs and crossovers happening.
Yeah, she's really good. She's very big in Sweden, but probably not in the rest of the world. But she's like very big name not here. And of course, there are more modern Swedish jazz artists as well. I think, yeah, like, what other people are there?
I guess, well, you think a couple of my favorites, Dave Brubeck is one that I enjoy. He's particularly known for using quirky time signatures. One of his more famous pieces is called Take 5 because it is written in 5/4 time, which is, for anyone who knows music, an absurd time signature that usually you play in what is 4/4 or common time, where, 4 beats per measure and a quarter note is 1 beat. And it's very simple to read, and that's what the vast majority of music is going to be written in, or sometimes 3/4. But 5/4, anything where you have a numerator that is bigger than the denominator is weird stuff in music.
Yeah, it sounds really weird.
Yeah, so definitely one to look up if you have the chance. Maybe I'll send you a link to that after the show. But Dave Brubeck and Take 5 is one that I enjoy just because it's fun and quirky. But definitely Louis Armstrong is a gold standard for a reason. Just so very talented and very iconic for his time, and still iconic today. And then on the other end, you have metal music. So I guess, how did you get into metal music from all of these other types of music?
I think this will be quite weird and surprise you, but actually my grandmother is a metalhead.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's how I started listening to metal music. There's a very famous festival in Sweden. It's called Sweden Rock. Very big. They always get very big bands like AC/DC and those big bands. People from all over Europe come there. But my grandmother goes every single year. I think she's gone there every single year since the 90s. I'm not even joking. And she's not that old. She's like 67 now. She's quite young still, People think she's my mom sometimes. But yeah, so she got me into metal. We would do cooking every Friday together in her kitchen, and we would listen to Black Sabbath and that kind of stuff in the background.
Oh my gosh, I'm just like, this is such a crazy mental image of just, imagining Viking Queen Alfhilde and Grandma Alfhilde cooking Swedish cuisine out in the countryside while listening to metal.
I know, right?
Just if there are any fan artists in the chat, can we get that? Let's get some fan art of Alfie and Grandma Alfie cooking while listening to metal.
It's so weird because people are like, they have this comfort music that their grandmothers would listen to and stuff.
And you usually think of like oldies and whatnot, and sometimes jazz or things of that nature. Metal is not usually where your mind goes in a stereotypical sense.
Paranoid is pretty comfy, am I right, guys? And everyone's like, what the fuck? So yeah, it's just pretty cool. And I don't know, that's how I got my love for metal. Her and her husband really showed me the way. And also, of course, I went to the festival once with them, and I was so happy that metalheads are one of the probably most well-behaved festival goers you will ever meet. There's rarely any fighting. People get drunk, but they're like, behave.
Find me a music festival where people don't get drunk.
But I think like compared to other festivals, the metal festivals are always the calmest, and people are the most accepting of weirdos, so it's just very comfy. And of course, I watched Sabaton as a young Alfie, and people are often asking me, Alfie, how do you know Sabaton? I'm like, listen,
I was raised on this.
I was raised on Sabaton. No, it's like I saw them live in 2008. Okay, that's how old of a fan I am.
Wow.
But of course, I was a young bean back then. But it was pretty cool. And going there, seeing all these famous artists and eating hamburgers with your grandma, it's pretty epic. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that you are able to have this just super cool and wholesome relationship with your grandmother, and that you're able to make all these memories that that's really neat, and just the variety of things is so cool to
Yeah.
hear. And honestly,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons that I love doing this show, because I love finding out these fun little stories, or sometimes I talk lore with people, but this is the lore that I love most. Just finding out about all these different things, and sort of not necessarily the inspirations, but sort of these not secret things, but these things that don't necessarily come up normally during a stream.
No, exactly. Like, I don't think many people know. Like, I don't think many people know this about me, and a lot of people are surprised. Especially some people don't even believe me when I tell them my grandma's a metalhead. But you guys have to remember, like, when my mom and grandma grew up in the 60s and 70s, rock was beginning to, like, become really popular. So it's not really that weird, you know?
Yeah. And I think part of it might be that, like you mentioned, that 60s, 70s for a grandparent is a bit on the younger side than one might expect. So just the generation in which she grew up is not as common for a grandparent for people of our age.
Yeah. That's why people always, like, when I go to her with her in the grocery store, people would be like, "Wow, your daughter is so pretty," and then my grandma would be like, "She's my grandmother."
Still, that has to be a big compliment to her.
Of course, she was flattered every time and was like, "Wow, I look so young, wowie!" And I was like, "Oh my god." And sometimes she would even pretend like I was her daughter.
Hey, if you're gonna call me mother here, sure, I'll take that compliment and pretend it's real. Yeah.
Of course she rebels in that. Of course she does. But yeah, I really miss her, and I hope I can visit her soon. And just, I don't know. She had a sauna in her basement, so I have, like, very vibrant memories of, like, Black Sabbath blasting in the background, drinking wine, and then going in the sauna and, eating food together. It's amazing, Yeah.
That's so good. Another one of your interests when it comes to sort of the arts is poetry and storytelling as well. That actually just earlier today you were doing a sort of ASMR storytelling stream, and you actually went for about 2 hours. That I certainly hope after all this today that you will take some time to rest your voice. I don't want you to, wake up tomorrow and not be able to talk.
No, don't worry. I'm used to streaming and talking for a long time, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really anticipate how hard doing ASMR is, because you're basically whispering.
Yeah, you're constricting your vocal cords.
Yeah, so it's really tough. I think it's something I need to train probably, but it went really well. But yeah, I really like poetry, and people probably don't know that about me. It's not really something I talk about. My favorite poet is called Karin Boye. She's Swedish, and I have her entire poetry collection. She also was an author, actually. She wrote a dystopian novel, I think. Yes. I haven't read it, actually, but I probably should, considering I'm a fan of hers.
Maybe that could be something for the next ASMR stream.
I don't know how well her poetry, like, translates to English.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. There's another famous Swedish poet called Gustav Harding as well. He looks like an insane scientist. But he is very good as well. And I think some of his poetry is translated into English. Do you have any English poets you recommend?
I don't read a ton of poetry, but some of the poetry that I've enjoyed, just because I enjoy silly things. Lewis Carroll is one that I've always enjoyed reading, that I've actually memorized a couple of his poems. Jabberwocky and The Walrus and the Carpenter are ones that back in high school, actually, I did. There was sort of a speech competition that was run in the county where I grew up, and there were different categories, one of which was poetry, and just sort of on a whim, I decided to enter in with a couple of Lewis Carroll poems. So practicing for that, I wound up memorizing them, and I still have Jabberwocky completely memorized to this day, and the vast majority of Walrus and the Carpenter.
Oh, I think I've heard of Wabberjocky before, actually.
Because Lewis Carroll is the guy that wrote Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, that makes
and
sense.
Jabberwocky is one of the sort of iconic monsters from the Wonderland lore. In the Disney films, there is a abridged version of The Walrus and the Carpenter. So that's probably where you're having those memories from.
Yeah, probably. I think so. Man, I should check out more English poetry because, you know, I am fluent in English.
Yes, quite fluent. More fluent than some people that I know who grew up in the United States.
Really? No. People just say that to be nice, I think.
Oh, no. That just I am monolingual. I took a couple years of Spanish in middle school and high school, and I like to think I was a pretty good student. I got very good grades. For whatever reason, languages were not my strong suit. That, you know, I pulled B's. I got solid B's. It wasn't like I was failing the class or anything, but just learning new languages was a struggle for me. And I like to think I am good at talking in English. That's part of why I started a talk show. But I am always impressed by people who are able to speak 2 or more languages. And it's definitely something that people in the US in general lack, because for people who live in Europe and Asia and most other places, frankly, speak more than one language, because they will usually speak the national dialect and language plus English, or some will be, you know, like that, and then Chinese or something
Russian.
else. But the United States is definitely one of the places in the world that is the least number of languages spoken per person.
Probably, yeah. I don't know. Like, for me, it's nothing special. Like, everyone my age knows. Actually, it's funny you say my English is good, because most of my friends actually mock me and they think my English is bad. Like, my Swedish friends are like, wow, Alfie, your English is so shit. And I'm like, thank you, man. So it's funny. I hear that from people all the time. Like, Alfie, your English is so good. No, my Swedish friends make fun of me for having bad English. Okay?
Oh, you're doing just fine. Don't worry about it.
But it's just like, I don't care. It's all in good, like, fun, you know.
Yeah.
But like, we learn from 2nd grade, and then of course, when not like Germany, they dub their movies, you know. They translate video games, because Sweden is such a small market that nobody cares about. We only get subtitles. Swedish subtitles on movies, actually no subtitles in games. This was a huge issue when I was a child, because, you know, you would get Pokemon, you know, to start Pokemon. Everything's in English. I don't speak English because I'm 8 years old.
Well, I guess you're learning.
The thing is, sometimes there would be one kid at school who figured out what to do. And then it would spread like a wave, you know. Oh my God, this dude knows what to do. Okay, so I did this. Okay, then another person finds out what to do next. And then, you know, it goes on and on. So that's how we would progress in Pokemon games, or like any games. Then
sort
eventually,
crowdsourced.
And eventually you learned English. But at that point, you know, you read so slowly that you would be stuck in the dialogue screen forever. I remember especially when I played Spyro. I would have to sit in the dialogue and look at the text for such a long time, just because I was reading very slowly and trying to understand everything. But yeah, I don't know. It was just different. And some Americans, they get very shocked when I tell them we don't dub movies or don't get games translated. They're like, really? I'm like, no.
We're definitely spoiled here when it comes to that.
Yeah, why do you think I speak English so well? I had to learn. There was no option. Like, you know. Yeah. I think there's actually a dub of Diablo 2, Diablo 1 in Swedish, and it's hilarious. It's so low budget. It's incredibly low budget. It's just funny. Like, I hear voice clips from it and I laugh so hard. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter, I think, if it's English or Swedish or something else, that if you rewind the clocks 20 years or so, that translation projects, whether it be for films or games or anime, were not as good as they are today, shall we say. That you have everything from just things that are either literally translated, which means that grammatically they're either incomprehensible or just incredibly awkward, or sometimes they're mistranslated, or sometimes you can tell that they didn't try and translate and they just made things up.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually in the early 2090s, in the 90s and early 2000s, there actually was a lot of manga that was translated to Swedish, but the translations are so bad, they're kind of funny.
Yeah.
They would make up custom swear words and everything.
Wait, custom swear words?
Like, how to explain this? They would mash words together to make swear words. So they sound very ridiculous. I don't know how to explain it, but that's basically it. It's very funny.
Are you familiar when it comes to English translations and dubs? There's a lot of different ones that have gained notoriety over the years. Just in general, if you look at anything that's from the late 90s, early 2000s, there's a lot of ones that are awkward, but one that is sort of particularly famous because they were allowed to just do their own thing is a series called Ghost Stories. Are you familiar with this one?
I think
Claxon,
I've seen an infamous
knows what I'm talking about.
This anime. I've seen an infamous clip from this anime. Is it the clip I'm thinking of?
It probably is. It probably is.
I
So,
think I know.
funny enough, the Ghost Stories was initially released in 2000. I don't recall when it got adapted in the US. I'm actually looking it up right now because, hey, on the air research, let's check.
Let's check.
Not sure. Let's see here. The dub is their year 2005. With the dub, yeah. So
2005.
it's yeah, it was originally done by a company called ADV Films and was released in October 2005, and then later in 2013 because ADV had gone bankrupt, that series and license were acquired and released again in 2014. And this production actually had a lot of very prolific voice actors, ones that have gone on to do a lot of really good work in just English dubbing. That Monica Rial, Hilary Haag, Chris Patton, Greg Ayres, some really well-known names here. And just there's a variety of sort of legends that go around of what happened here, from it being a botched translation job / the fact that it wasn't particularly well received in Japan, so they were able to get the license very cheap and were allowed to do pretty much whatever they wanted because the creator and IP holder wasn't very picky or stringent about the adaptation. And that the things said in this dub are the most ridiculous things you've ever heard, that you would think that it was a fan dub or like a parody. You would think it was, you know, an abridged series fan dub, that it was meant to be ridiculous.
Weird. Yeah, it sounds weird.
That there's just crazy things, but then you also have ones where you can tell that they were trying and it just didn't go well, and that's usually the cases of very literal translations and whatnot from like the late 90s, early 2000s. But we are still very spoiled here in the US that we have, especially nowadays, a very strong dubbing scene, and for something to not even get subtitles here is effectively unheard of.
Oh my god, you know something I hate that Americans do? It's when you have a news report and then they cut to like a Chinese person speaking and then they dub over that guy, so it's an Englishman speaking over him. Like it's so annoying. We don't do this in Sweden. It's not a thing. We don't do this. It's so annoying, especially for me. And there was this interview I found on YouTube where they dubbed over a Swedish guy. And I was like, no, I want to hear the Swedish man speaking. What is he saying? I don't want to hear this average American man speaking over him. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. And they do this on Nintendo Direct.
Yes. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's so horrible. Please stop doing this. Please, I'm begging you. Like, I know for some people it's hard to read subtitle, but I don't know. It's probably my biggest pet peeve ever. I hate it. I've never watched an English dub of an anime ever, because I grew up reading subtitles as a Swedish person. So for me, of course, I'm gonna pick the Japanese audio and then put subtitles, because I've already grew up reading subtitles my whole life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really make any difference for me. So yeah, I don't know. I've never. So sometimes a lot of how to explain, a lot of the English American anime community, there are memes that just I don't understand. Like there is like Takahata and Cabal, they do a Helsing voice.
Oh,
like
yes.
They do a Helsing
Yeah,
impression,
yeah.
an Alucard impression. And I don't understand the reference, because for me, I watched Helsing in Japanese. So I don't understand the reference.
Well, there might be a twofold issue happening here because of specifically who you mentioned, because Takahata he's involved in a production called Helsing Ultimate Abridged, which is one of those parody series where people take the original animation and dub over it in a comedic fashion where it's not the original stuff. So if you were mentioning just random people who might be doing impressions, that'd be one thing, but specifically because you mentioned Taka, it has me thinking that you might be seeing him doing some of his lines from that fan production, not translations of the actual ones. And I'm not sure, because I don't know specifically which clips you're talking about, but that has a very real possibility of being the case because of specifically who is performing there.
And also there's sometimes people do like impressions of Black Butler, like Sebastian in English. And I'm just like, that doesn't sound like Sebastian at all. Because I grew up with, I watched the Japanese version of Black Butler. I always watch the and it's not like I don't like, of course I prefer to watch in Japanese because I'm used to it,
Yeah.
I'm not used to watching dubs at all. So for me, it's just, I don't know. It's weird for me, I guess.
Yeah, Sebastian was dubbed in English by a voice actor who is very, very well known, named J. Michael Tatum. And he has this very iconic, low, smooth voice. So I can see why that would be one that people would like to do impressions of.
I've heard a lot of people do that.
He definitely did very well with that. But as with any role, that if you are used to one voice, hearing another voice is just going to seem off. It doesn't matter how good the performance is, that once you sort of have a mental association with the voice, that if someone were to see your model and hear a different voice, it would seem odd. It doesn't matter if the voice is good or bad, that once you have that mental connection of this voice matches this face, it's very difficult to break out of that.
Actually, I confused one of my friends once because I have Lumi's model. So I just built a Lumi's model and I started talking, and they were like, "Oh my god, that's so
Wait,
weird.
What's going on?"
Please stop now. If you change the model, this is weird. I don't like this. And I was just laughing because it was so funny to me. I don't of course we did have some dubs. Like, of course, Yu-Gi-Oh was dubbed in Swedish. Pokemon, Sailor
yes,
Moon.
the 4Kids classics.
Yeah, they suck so bad in Swedish. Actually, the Swedish dub of Yu-Gi-Oh is on Netflix, and I watched it once while drunk.
Oh,
it was amazing. It was great entertainment. I highly recommend it. If you're Swedish, please do this. This is great. So yeah, I don't know. But there's a lot of, of course, because I don't watch newer anime, there's a lot of references that just, like, the newest anime I've watched now, I think, what's it called? Komi Can't Communicate. I'm watching that right now.
Yeah, Komi Can't Communicate is the English title. That actually just started airing on Netflix this past week.
I watched it and it seemed really good. I didn't like how much exposition there was in the first episode.
Yeah, there was a lot.
I was like, bruh, calm down. You just met. Like, what the fuck? And she's like telling her entire life story. Like, calm down, man. Like, how are you gonna spoon? Like, that wasn't a small spoon feed. That was a fucking massive dump on my face. Like, it was just like, what the fuck is happening?
And I guess part of it is because her character has been so starved for communication that when she has the opportunity, that she just, everything just sort of falls out. But I can absolutely understand that as a viewer, that was a very exposition heavy episode for sure.
I was just when always wary when there is that form of exposition dump
Mm.
because it can either turn out good or really bad. So I'm like, I'm gonna continue watching. We'll see. Maybe it will be good.
Yeah.
So, and also I watched the Wonder Egg, Wonder Egg. It was really good. I really like Wonder Egg. Very very good anime.
Good
Probably
at.
one of the best I've watched in years. It has a good egg. But other than that, I can't really say I've watched a lot of anime recently.
Obviously, given its literal place on your shelf, Utena is a special series for you.
Of course, I love it. And I have a poster in my bedroom as well.
Mm. And the other genre, I suppose, that you are really into is magical girls.
Yeah, I love my whole shoujo. It's the best.
In a way, I see Alfie as a magical girl of a sort. That's sort of, like just Swedish Viking magical girl that, you have your outfit, you have the wings, you have, I don't know, maybe I'm off, but I sort of see Alfie as Swedish Viking magical girl in a sense.
I don't know. I've never heard that before, but I guess I can understand, especially because of my full outfit with the skirt and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say that Alfie's a magical girl, but she has maybe that vibe. I'm not sure actually. I don't know, man. But I love Madoka, Sailor Moon, Utena.
Yeah. And obviously, those are some very different ones because Sailor Moon, being just the prolific series that it is, that has so many lighthearted moments, but also so many very serious moments, especially in the later seasons. And then you have Madoka, which honestly changed the game for magical girls. That it wasn't the first dark magical girl anime, but it was the one that really broke through to the mainstream.
I'm gonna stop you right there.
Please.
Okay, so actually Sailor Moon was partly censored in the 90s version. So
yes, it was. Very much here in the US as well.
I mean from the source, like the original concept, because Sailor Moon actually contains suicide and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So in the manga, I mean.
Yeah.
And then they changed it for the anime, so it didn't contain any of that stuff because they wanted it to be marketable.
Yep.
And then when they remade Sailor Moon, I don't know, remember, but it was like in 2016 or something.
It was 2014 Crystal.
I don't know. Yeah, it sucked. Anyway, they added that back in, the heavy themes, and which is good, but then the animation sucked, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, the CG was ambitious.
It was sad. But then Madoka really, I think, deals with the darker themes more heavily, and I'm still on the like, did I like Rebellion? Did I not like Rebellion? I don't know. Like, first time I watched Rebellion, I'm not gonna lie, I was pissed. I'm like, what did they do to my child Homura? I swear to God, I'm gonna stab them.
You had fun after 12 episodes of suffering. You gave us a happy ending, and now you take it away? How dare you?
No, it's mostly I felt like they did my girl dirty, like turning her into a demon or something.
Yeah.
I was like, how could you do this to my child?
Did you hear that a fourth movie is coming out?
Yeah, it's been in the air. They released the concept trailer, I think, a while ago, and it looked really good. If they actually release a new movie, I will probably cry tears of joy.
Because they announced it earlier in this year as part of the 10th anniversary celebration. There hasn't been an announced release date or anything, but they have confirmed that it is in production. So probably in the next 2 years or so is what I would guess.
Yeah. So I hope it gets released. I will be so happy. Happy Gremlin.
Yeah. And it definitely holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts because, like I was saying, it wasn't necessarily the first magical girl series to do dark themes, but it really hit the mainstream and it sort of gave rise to this subgenre of, specifically dark and sort of almost twisted magical girl series.
It's really good. I remember the first time I watched, I think it's episode 3.
Yep, episode 3, the moment.
I remember I was like sitting there and just staring at the screen. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And also, oh my god, this is so good. So I was so shocked. But also, I don't know, I like Utena as well because I felt like Utena dealt with heavy subjects before a lot of other animes as well.
Oh,
so that's why I like
it was
Utena
ahead of its time.
Yeah, but I think Utena is one of those animes. Either you hate it and don't understand it, or you love it. You know. And
Yeah.
every time I rewatch Utena, I notice something new, and I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that, or like, oh, this can be interpreted that way, or like, yeah.
Yeah,
And
those
of
are some of
course,
the
the
best
movie is
series.
kind of fucked, like with the car scene and everything. It's like, what the hell is happening? Yeah. Have you watched the movie?
I have not seen the movie, no.
Utena turns into a car.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, I know, right? Pretty wild. But yeah, you should watch it just because of that, I think. It's pretty cool.
Animes always go crazy when they get their films. They're like, all right, we have a
I
bunch of
know.
budget and 2 hours to do some crazy things. How crazy can we get?
Yeah. I don't know. The Sailor Moon movies is honestly Sailor Moon at its peak. Like, that's when it was the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, they got to
Especially
do... Sorry, go ahead.
Especially the one with Luna, where she turns into a human. I actually have an original theater poster of this movie in my bedroom.
Wow.
It wasn't expensive. I found it on a Japanese auction site. It costed like $20.
That's not bad at all.
No. Of course, it's a bit yellowed because it's probably been in storage forever.
Just storage
I don't
or,
really
you know,
care.
sun bleaching.
Yeah. But of course, because Japan is such a huge country, there are probably like thousands of these posters made.
Yeah.
So I
Plus
found
recreations.
one. Yeah. So I have one on my wall, and it's this original poster that was in a theater somewhere. It's pretty cool. Because having a movie poster that's been in a cinema display is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, just sort of knowing, all right, people walked into the building and saw this in, you know, that just massive row of posters in the lobby before you get to the theater, and that, you know, how many people passed by this, how many people saw this in the theater and then bought their ticket, that it feels like it has history behind it.
Exactly, and the fact that you could buy a piece of history for $20. So yeah, if you want to buy Japanese movie posters, I highly recommend Yahoo Auctions. There's a big market for vintage movie posters there. But you have to be ready to fight for things, because sometimes I've got it in severe bidding wars on that site.
Yeah, sometimes it's you and this one other fan, and it's just you don't know who your rival is, where they are in the world, but in that moment, for those last couple hours of the auction, you are mortal enemies.
Actually, I have a funny story regarding a bidding war. I once bid on a Lolita dress that's very rare. I've never seen it pop up again. And I lost the bidding war, and I was like, fine, I will go to bed. And then I go on my Instagram. One of my American friends posted, I won this dress on auction.
Oh,
I'm
no!
So happy. It was her! It was her! It was her! And I instantly DM'd her, and I was like, you!
It was you!
It was you! And she was like, oh my god, it was you bidding against me? And I was like, yes. Actually,
and then it's also, you feel sort of bad, because it's like, dang it, if one of us had to win or lose, then you almost feel bad. All right, if you were the one that was going to get it anyways, I kind of feel bad that I made you pay more for it. But
yeah, but I mean, it was you know, fair.
Yeah.
But actually, what ended up happening was that it didn't fit her.
Oh.
So I ended up buying it off her.
Haha! You lost the battle, but you won the war.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up getting it for her. We struck like a fair deal. And I got it from... Actually, I ended up selling it a few years later, because I, you know, changed style, and I wanted something more like... It was very gothic. It had like crosses all over it and stuff. And I realized that's not really my thing. But yeah, pretty cool, I guess. But I don't know. The world is very small. Sometimes you might be in a bidding war with your best friend and you don't even know it.
You said that this one was particularly rare and that you've never seen it before. What made it rare? Was it the person who initially made it? Was it something about the fabric that made it unique?
No, it's just from is from a Japanese Lolita brand called Moi Mi Moitie, and it's very iconic gothic Lolita brand. It's made by an artist called Mana. He is very iconic. He's actually a guy that dresses in dresses, you know?
Yeah.
Very iconic man. So he has this brand, and anyway, this dress was released back in like 2010. And basically, when a Lolita dress is released, they release it once and then never again. So they don't restock, basically.
Yeah, no restocks, no reproductions. That it's
Yeah.
that season, that year's style, and that when it's gone. And if you didn't get one of the initial sales, that you need to buy it secondhand somewhere.
Yeah. So some dresses are rarer than others because, depending on the size of the production and everything. This was a small production, so I've been hunting for it for like 2 years, and then I finally found it. So
what a journey.
So yeah, it was pretty wild. Never, like, when I saw my friend post it on Instagram, I was like, you have to be joking. Especially because it was a Japanese auction site, and she's American and I'm Swedish. I was like, what the fuck? You have to be kidding me. It was wild.
Yeah, it's not like you just sort of bump into each other on eBay or anything, that it was very particular place.
Yeah, very particular Yahoo auction site. So it's pretty wild. Probably the wildest bidding war I've ever been in.
What's one of the best finds you've ever gotten on an auction site? Something that, like, you might not have even been looking for, but then you saw it was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect, or something that, I've never seen anywhere before.
I mean, I've had a few of those finds. Usually it's Swedish uniforms that I've gotten very cheaply because people don't know what it is. Like, sometimes people just sell a jacket and they're like,
it is a vintage jacket.
Vintage jacket.
Those are the best finds.
And then I recognize it from pictures, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, my mother collects antiques. And she goes to yard sales a lot, garage sales, estate sales, things of that sort. And just over the years, she's gotten a very good eye for things, that she can glance at a piece and know maybe not the year it's made, but she can tell the decade it's made because of something about the style or the materials, that she's gotten a very good eye for it. And just, sometimes you go to a yard sale and you see some like lamp or something that's being sold for $2, and wait, this is this very popular brand or iconic piece that is worth, 50, 100 or something. And basically the way that she does it is she will go around, and if she spots a piece like that she will buy it and then resell it. And then the money she makes becomes her personal yard sale fund. So it becomes a self-sustaining hobby in that way.
Oh, that's pretty smart of her. Like, I can also do that. Like, I also collect antiques, actually. So I can be like, that's from that time, that's from that time, But it's funny because one time I was actually on... Every Swedish student is taken to a tour of the Swedish Parliament building. It's a thing, and I remember then we get a political representative from our area to guide us around. And he was talking about how everything was so old, and then I was, of course, very stupid and socially dumb that I outright said, no, everything in here is made from the 70s. And he just stared at me, and he's like, how did you know that? And I'm like, it's very easy to tell. Like, you can tell the style is very obvious. And he's like, but the mosaic are old. And I'm like, no, the mosaic is obviously like also from the 70s. And he got so pissed at me. You could see the rage burning in his eyes. He wanted me to shut up.
Smart little Alfie calling him out.
Yeah, it was a very like... most people, if they had met me when I was a teenager, they would have said that I have a stick up my ass. Do you have that saying in English as well?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's what people would say about me.
That's too funny.
Actually, the only thing in my apartment that's not antique is probably the electronics and my bed.
Do you collect a particular style or era of antiques? Is it, furniture pieces that you like, or is it just in general that you enjoy older things?
Of course, I have a fondness for Rococo, and there's another style in Swedish. I don't know what it's called in English, but it's called New Renaissance in Swedish. It's basically furniture that looks... It's like dark English style furniture. It's very like... It's wooden, handmade. It's from the late 1800s to the early 1900s. It's not that valuable. I just like the style of it.
Mm.
Then I have oh my god, what is the other style called? I can't remember. Oh yeah, I have like an empire style table. It's probably the most expensive thing in my apartment. I've even had people ask me how much did you pay for it, and I just look at them in silence and I shake my head. I don't want to talk about it.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
It's a secret. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. It was a lot of money for a stupid table. But yeah, and actually, when I moved into this apartment, I bought a massive like wooden chest from the 1600s. But then I realized I didn't have anywhere to store it, so I had to get rid of it.
Oh, that's the worst. When you
Yeah.
get something really nice, a good piece, and then realize either you don't have the space for it or you don't have the use for it.
No, it's like it was so big. It was much bigger than I expected. It was giant. It was like 2 meters long. I was like, where the fuck am I
wow.
supposed to put this chest? Like, am I supposed? I could probably bury myself in this. What do I do with it? Like, so yeah, it had to go sadly. But I kind of miss it sometimes. It was nice to have something in my apartment that I could be like, this is older than the United States. You know?
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty awesome. What else do I have? I don't know. I would have more things, but my apartment is so small.
Are there any pieces that you're sort of on the lookout for? Something that you don't have that, you know, if it comes across on a auction site, or that if you see it somewhere that you know that
Oh my God.
you want this type of thing and you know what you would do with it if you got it.
Yes. I want a particular, like there's something called Lindomestula. There's like chairs made from a city called Lindome, and they're very they're like Rococo style, and they're quite rare and they're very expensive. But my dream is to find one at a thrift like shop or something and buy them, because I would be so happy. Like if I found a pair of those in the wild, I would probably cry myself to sleep. I don't know, out of happiness.
What makes these particular chairs special? Is it something about the materials? Is it the shape of the chair?
They were very creative. They did very special, like very Rococo shaped, crazy styles, and also they delivered the chairs to the royal family a lot and other noble houses.
Ooh.
So these chairs were the best of the best at the time. And if I see one of those in the wild, I will be so happy. But I don't think it will happen. And I would also love like some like lamps from the 20s with the stained glass style. I would really love that. Sometimes you see like copies made that are later made. But yeah, someday I hope I can find one of those original glass stained lamps. Actually, I have a cabinet in my apartment that my dad actually replaced the cable so that the lights work inside of it, because the old lights inside of it were a fire hazard and could not be used. Yeah. My dad, when I sent the picture, was like, do not plug that in. Do not plug that in the wall. I'll be no. So yeah, he replaced it. And now it's as good as new. I'm very happy. It's very cute.
Yeah, it's always neat when you're able to functionally refurbish something like that. And certainly for older pieces, fire hazard is not a rare thing to encounter. Just whether it be because like the wires are old and prone to burning, or because just the safety regulations weren't up to what we now have at the time that it was made, and that there's some inherent flaw that even back in the day made them risky, but now even more so. And being able to fix that and make it so it is usable and safe now is a very satisfying thing. And it's certainly good that your father had that knowledge and was able to know at a glance of, wait a minute, don't plug that in.
Oh, he's an educated electrician, actually.
Okay, so that's actually his specialty.
Yes. And he's a plumber as well. My dad's like everything, I guess. But yeah, if you buy an antique thing with a lamp in it, please replace it, because it's not safe. Okay.
Yeah,
unless it's
a very
like,
good rule of thumb there.
Yeah, please. I have actually my lamp in the ceiling is also antique actually, and I had that replaced too. But I found out it eats lamp for dinner. Like the lamps, they go old much quicker than in a normal lamp. I don't know
Mm.
why. It's like nom, 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 nom. I'm gonna eat. I don't know why. I don't know why. Why am I talking about antiques? But yeah, it's something I really like. I used to go thrift shopping quite often for like plates or glasses or that kind of stuff. It was one of my favorite things to do. But of course, because of COVID, I haven't been able to in a very long time. And I really hope it's something I can do soon again, because obviously people have probably bought a lot of stuff during COVID that they want to get rid of. And that's where I come in and buy all their
Haha.
stuff. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yes.
So I look
Do you own
forward
any
to it.
pieces that are or have Viking imagery or history to them?
Actually, no, I don't. I don't. Like if an item is ancient in Sweden, you have to turn it into the government by law.
Okay, so most things that would have, that Viking type of lineage to them would be considered historical artifacts at this point.
Yes, but it was also a movement in the early 1900s where the Swedish nobility got really interested in Viking history. So they started making basically wooden Viking chairs, Viking furniture, basically inspired, sort of like what I have in the background right here. Like they would make like wooden furniture with Viking elements. It was really popular for a while, and even wooden glasses, Viking glasses, and that sort of thing. Decorations with Vikings. So sometimes these items pop up, and I would love to get, if I get a house or a bigger apartment, I would love to have a Viking sofa or something like that with dragons on it, because I've seen those things around and they're actually not that expensive because people think they're ugly and nobody wants them, but I want them.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's great when other people don't like the things that you like because then they're cheaper. Haha.
Yeah. I don't know why people don't like them.
Seriously, dragons are cool. Who doesn't like dragons?
I don't know. I also the Swedish like trends, like people like minimalist stuff in Sweden. Like their Scandinavian design is obviously very huge. People want like white walls, open wooden flooring, like open planning, no like walls. Like usually living room and kitchen is open and connected. People want like big windows. I don't like that. I think it's boring and it looks like a hospital. I don't like it. So I don't know, but most Swedish people like it. I don't know why, but I think it's boring. I don't know.
I feel like you could become an interior designer with all of your different knowledge of these different types of pieces, especially the historical ones.
No, I probably couldn't because people want the modern stuff and I don't like the modern stuff, so.
You could become
I
a
don't know.
specialist interior designer for people who have those interests.
Maybe I could. I don't know. Actually, my dream is to study political science. That's what I wanted to do someday.
Ooh. Would you want to get into more local politics, or do national politics interest you?
No, my dream is to end up working for the Swedish like police or like something like that.
Oh, okay. So would that be something as an investigator, or sort of somebody who, is an officer patrolling a town?
No, usually if you're a political scientist and you work at those places, you become like a threat assessment person and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's like something I'd love to do.
Yeah, so that,
But
I
also,
suppose, I guess the term I sort of associate with that more is criminology, I suppose. I'm not sure if that's accurate here or not.
no, I mean threat assessment. Like I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I really want to, and also I would like to learn more languages. I'm really good at languages. Like when I was in Japan, I picked up Japanese incredibly fast. Now I've lost most of it because I don't speak it. But when I was in Japan, I think in 2 months I could understand. I think about 15 to 20% of what people were saying.
Wow, yeah.
And
They
I also
definitely say
learned.
immersion is the easiest way to learn.
Yeah, I learned hiragana in 2 weeks as well because I was bored.
Yeah, I taught myself hiragana and katakana this past winter. I have not
Yeah.
attempted to learn kanji because
No,
that is a
kanji is hard.
whole different monster.
Yeah, I know a few kanji. When I was in Japan, I picked them up quite easily because a lot of the kanji are, commonly used,
Yeah.
and you can see them over and over again, and eventually you learn what they mean. So, especially looking at station names helped me for some weird reason. I don't know why, but when I would see station names, I could like, oh, this is used a lot. What does this kanji mean? Oh, it means this. Oh, okay. I don't know why, but it's helped me a lot.
Mm. Do you have any particular languages that you're looking to learn? Because you said you want to learn more, but is there one or two that's at the top of your list?
Yeah, I would love to learn Japanese and Russian.
What about Russian intrigues you?
Oh, a lot of people don't know this maybe because you live in the US, but actually Russian is one of the most how do I explain? Like in a big part of Asia, instead of a second language, they don't have English, they have Russian. Especially in the old post-Soviet countries.
Yeah, that it's a regional language that is just more functionally useful.
Yeah, so they don't speak English, they speak Russian instead. So I would like to learn some Russian. And also I really like the sound of Russian, and it seems pretty easy to learn compared to some other things. One language I know I would learn insanely quickly, but I don't know. I can't be arsed, is Spanish. Because I have like sometimes when people speak Spanish, I can pick up on things even though I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, that I think possibly what helps there is that it is a romantic language in the sense that it has the Roman roots for the words, and there's a bunch of languages that are the Romance languages that have those similar roots in just their prefixes or suffixes, the parts of the words. So if you're able to recognize things like pre, post, or what have you, that you can end up inferring meanings of words.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, context helps a lot as well. Like,
oh, for sure.
Learning new languages is really interesting. I don't know. I just like it. It's like solving a puzzle in your brain. Which is weird because I hate math.
and on the other side, I love puzzles. Like puzzle games are some of my favorite things. Math, with the exception of calculus, I like math. I don't like calculus. We don't get along. But things like algebra, I enjoyed. But like I mentioned, I was not good at languages. So it's interesting that we have sort of that inverse there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I've always I don't even have a grade in math. I have no grade in math. I don't even have an F. There's just nothing. It's quite interesting. But I have I think in high school I got an A in everything except math. There's nothing there. Which is quite troublesome because in Sweden to progress you need a grade in math. Otherwise you can't go to university.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can't even become a cleaner. Like you can't become nothing.
So what happened there? Was it that you chose to not get a grade, or was it that you didn't do well, or was it something about how your school recorded things?
No, it's just I had a lot of troubles in school, and I ended up not going to school a lot. So I didn't get the assistance in math I needed because it wasn't there. So it just gave me nothing, I guess. Yeah. So that's what happened.
Well, I think you're doing pretty darn well without it.
Yeah, I think so. I know a few other like quote-unquote high school dropouts that are VTubers that are doing very well. So, I would say finish school, but if you can't, you can always do it later. There is always other chances for you out there, other options. Yeah. Like, I'm obviously going to go back to school after a while, but right now I'm just VTubing. So because I'm disabled and I don't really. I tried to study at the same time, but it didn't really work out. You know.
Yeah.
It's very intense.
And honestly, that school and studying, especially assuming you have the basics of things down to make it so that you can be a functioning member of society and that, you can speak and communicate, that you can do basic math and, addition, subtraction. You don't need to bother with fancy stuff like algebra or calculus. You're not going to use that in everyday life. And that as long as you have that, some people don't go to college. Some people go to trade school. Some people don't go to trade school and that they go into a family business. Some people do farming, and just that if you're able to be happy and just enjoy what you do, if you don't go back to school, you don't go back to school. I think you're doing quite well right now. That I don't know if you've been. I don't know if you're one of those people that has done the posts of where you started at the beginning of the year versus where you are now in terms of like viewer count or whatever. But I know that it's been a very good year for you, Alfie.
Yeah, so I didn't expect that. To be honest, my then versus now is so different from other people's, because most people then they start out on Twitch, they have like 2 viewers and then they grow. That was not the case for me. I had 113 viewers on my first stream, and then on my other streams then I think I had like 50, and then every week it kept getting more and more and more and more and more and more and more. So
what happened for that first stream? Because I've watched you for a while now. That I don't invite guests on my show unless I am familiar with their content and I enjoy their content. But I can't say that I've watched you all the way from the beginning.
No, not many.
113 on day one. That has to be something. That has to be like a raid or
no raid.
No raid. So was it that you advertised very well, or?
Okay, you have to understand. I don't know when you got into the whole B-tubing thing, but
I got into it
then.
later. That I got in around the time that Hololive VN debuted. That was when I got into things, and I started the show. The first show was on January 15th of this year. I'm actually currently in the early phases of planning my first anniversary stream. It's going to be a charity stream, so do expect to get a message from me about that, because I plan to ask all of my previous guests to possibly be involved somehow.
I love charity. I've done charity myself as well. I did for Games for Love. It was really comfy and nice.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. Back then it was different. The scene was very different. Like, personally, of course, my fans will disagree with me, but I felt like it didn't really do much. I don't know, but maybe I did. I don't know. What I did was a crazy amount of networking. I basically talked to anyone. Like, I grabbed anyone I could talk to, and I was like, I'm a VTuber, I'm a Viking, I'm a Viking. I went to everyone and told them, basically. And then I posted videos almost 3 times a week on my Twitter and on my YouTube.
There you go. That's what it was. That you had your first stream was not your first content creation, and that's a very big thing. That's something that even now is highly encouraged, and obviously there is a much greater saturation of VTubers now, that even doing
really
that is not going to get you those numbers, but it's cool that, even back then that you were putting in that work, that time, that effort to put yourself in the best possible position for your debut, to be able to have 113, because that's honestly phenomenal.
Yeah, I think some people seem to think that I knew like famous people and stuff, because of course that helps, but no, I had no one. Like, I had absolutely no one. Like, no famous friends, nothing. I just tried to talk to everyone and make some friends. Some of the people I still talk to, like Cabal, we've known each other since before debut. So he's one of my closest VTuber friends, and but I don't know, back then it was different. It was easier to get an eye on you, especially if you had a unique concept. Like, of course, there's like no Vikings, like no Vikings.
Even now I don't think I've seen any other Viking VTubers.
There's a few, but I don't know. There's one who's Danish. He's my friend. He's called Bjorn. He's in YouTube, so of course he's not on Twitch, so many people don't find him. And then there's a few others, but I think they're Americans. I don't know. I don't want to talk badly about Americans, but if you're Swedish and a Viking, of course your brand is going to be stronger.
Yeah, because you have the familiarity, you have the knowledge.
And of course, I have the accent.
That too.
Yeah, but yeah, it kept growing very quickly. It was insane. I didn't understand what was happening. I was like, what the fuck? Where is everyone coming from? It was crazy. And um, of course, I had never gotten any attention on the internet before, so I didn't know how to deal with it. I had like a breakdown, like, and then Lumi and Mary found me, and we started talking, and they helped me a lot because they understood what it's like, and talking with people who have done it for a while really helped me. So I'm really thankful. And now if I see a new person blowing up, sometimes I message them and I'm like, look, yo man, look, I know what it's like. If you need
Oh,
to talk
that's
to
so
someone, I'm
cool.
here. Because I didn't have anyone who reached out to me. Well, of course later I did, but and I don't think people understand that even if it's amazing that you blow up, sometimes your brain doesn't catch up, and it can get very overwhelming going from 50 to 200 people in a stream. You
Yeah,
know?
that just whether it be imposter syndrome or just overall stress, or
Yeah.
sort of the feeling that you need to do something or be someone that you aren't in
Yeah.
order to
Mm,
please this suddenly large audience that you have. But it's
exactly.
very cool to see that even though you had these very understandable, I guess, sort of difficulties because of your success, that you've been able to really grow and move past it and get into a good, healthy place as a content
Yeah.
creator.
Yeah, it was really like crazy, and I'm glad. Honestly, I'm glad it has calmed down. Because I don't know if it had been a constant rapid growth. I don't know, man. It's a bit overwhelming. I had a scenario. I had a stupid stream I did. I think my viewers still remember it, where I basically was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do a fridge tour." So I took a picture of my fridge, and then I had a tour of my fridge on stream, and I was like, "Here's the butter. Here's the expired salmon." That's still a meme on my stream, by the way. And I didn't realize, but apparently I had almost over 200 viewers just by shit posting my fridge.
Hey, shitposts get views.
But I was so confused. I was like, what the fuck? And then after stream, I had like a weird feeling because I imagined 200 people lining up to view my fridge.
That is
And
a
I had,
fun mental image.
yeah, I was like, I don't know how I feel. I was like slightly uncomfortable, but also amazed. I was like, what? It's kind of weird. So
Like,
yeah, it's
I wonder,
very
that could be a fun
weird.
stream, because you see people do desk reviews or like room
Oh,
reviews where they have people send them pictures of, their desk or their room, and
oh
you
yeah.
can talk about, their keyboard or the figurines they have. That
Mm.
I'm trying to remember if I've ever seen a fridge review
It
done
was just a shit
as,
post.
just like everyone, that multiple people send in pictures of their refrigerators, and that you look through what do they have and you make a stream out of that.
Honestly, you're giving me an idea now that probably I should ask my followers to take a picture of the fridge and I'll
Do it.
review
I'll
their
tune in.
fridge.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. But yeah, and then I had a meme out for a while because shortly after that I got Twitch partner. I got Twitch partner 2 months after I started streaming, which is pretty crazy. And then people ask me, "How did you get partner so quick?" I'm like, "Fridge reveal." You gotta do a fridge reveal. I'm telling you, man.
It's not about
It's
the
a secret.
feet. It's not about the
No,
face. It's about
no.
the fridge.
It's about the fridge. That's where the gold is. That's where you get the views, man. So that's like my troll answer when people ask me, "How do you get Twitch partner?" Fridge reveal.
There you go.
Yeah,
The secret Twitch tech with Alfie.
indeed. But yeah, I still can't believe this year has been. I don't know what's happening. It's crazy. It's crazy.
We've been at this now for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Time absolutely flies. I don't want to keep you too much longer because, like I said, you've had a big day already, and I do want to make sure that you're able to get some rest because it's starting to get late over there for you.
It's very late. I'm a bit tired, actually. I've probably been yawning. I don't know if you've heard it, but yeah.
I've noticed your model
Yeah.
open its mouth for a moment. I was like, I think that's a yawn. I haven't heard it. You've done a very good job of being quiet about it.
Yeah.
do want to make sure that you go to bed at a slightly reasonable hour. So just a couple questions as we start to wrap up.
Of course.
And I guess going off of the crazy year that 2021 has been for you, do you have any goals for the remainder of the year? That there's about 2 months left, so still time to do stuff. Is there anything that you want to accomplish, whether it be, get that re-debut or maybe a particular type of stream or a project, or is a lot of your stuff right now planning for 2022?
Okay, so one of my goals is to do more cooking streams. It's something I really want to do because for some reason my sarcastic self comes out insanely strong when I do cooking streams, which people thought was very hilarious. So I need to do that more. And I also want to reach 12k before the end of the year. I hope I can on Twitch. And also do more video content on YouTube. Because I realized that history streams are nice, but it's really hard to do it unedited. And I realized that maybe I should just do videos instead because I can plan it out better. And it's really hard because sometimes people come in and they have specific questions. Sometimes I can answer them, sometimes I can't. And, I try to do my best. But yeah, I don't know. I guess those are my goals. As for the re-debut, I don't know if it will be this year or next year. It's hard to say. It depends on... it would be cool because I debuted in February to have my re-debut the same date.
That 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, as my 1 year anniversary. That would be cool. But I don't know yet. I don't know. I'm honestly still planning, and literally I got an email from my new artist yesterday.
Ooh, very exciting.
So she didn't show me anything, but we're talking about sketching and stuff. So I'm excited. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna look more adult because of course I love this version of myself, but I feel like I want to look more adult, and I want Sven to look less cartoony and more real, I guess. I want to look less cartoony and more... And also my new artist has more of a painted watercolor style, which I really like.
Ooh, can't wait to see that. Definitely looking forward to it.
A bit like vape-based model, I suppose. More that feeling.
Oh, okay, yeah. That I like that as an example because I can just sort of mentally see what you're talking about now, even more so of just the slight stylistic differences there.
And also, it will include more grapevines. The design will include more design elements based on real grapevines from Vikings, which is really cool, and I'm hyped about it.
Definitely make sure during the debut, I hope that we can get, just full detail of, that's what this one is, this is what that one is.
Of course I will tell everyone what the inspiration is. Of course I will. I would love to do an entire stream just about grapevines. I should do that, actually. I want to do that now. You're giving me ideas.
Hey, always happy to help. Yeah. And the last question that I always ask my guests is, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what is the definition of a VTuber, but to you, Alfhilde, what does it mean to be a VTuber? And I've had a variety of answers. For some people, it's a very professional one of, I've had people say, it is a mask. It is a tool that I use as a content creator. Others have had a very personal answer of, it allows me to be what I can't be in real life, or it lets me get in touch with my inner child. So there's no right or wrong answer, but it's something that I've gotten a different answer from everybody else. And I'm very curious for you, what does it mean to be a VTuber to you?
This is going to be very cheesy. But basically, I used to volunteer at a church. And I used to listen to people all day talking about hardships in life, problems, happiness, stuff like that. And the reason I volunteered partly was because I was bored, but also because I wanted to make the world less shit. Because to me, the world has mostly been shit, so I want to make more people smile. That is one of my goals in life. I wish to make more people smile and make people laugh. So why did I become a VTuber? Well, the same reason I volunteered. I want to make people smile and laugh more. I want people to become overall more happy, even if I'm sometimes miserable myself. I still want people to be able to smile. So that is my answer.
And that is a absolutely beautiful answer and very fitting, I think. And I think a comes through a lot in what you do. And hopefully those times when you are miserable are very few, because it certainly seems like you're having a great time.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. VTubing has really changed my life, honestly, for the better. I'm really grateful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So as we start to wrap up, do you have anybody that you would like us to raid?
Oh, let me check. We have a victim.
All right, well, while Alfie is checking that, thank you to Akira Yuzuma, and thank me for your follow. I'm thanking you for your follows, for the follows.
Could you raid this person?
All right, who do we have here? Who do we have?
Monkey Tube. Can you raid Barry? He's a dear friend of mine. He's a monkey VTuber. Yeah, he's a monkey VTuber. He's very talented. Guys, please check him out. I love him very much, and he deserves more views and more love. I love him so much.
All right, I've got that all queued up. So I have an outro to play and everything. But before we go, Alfie, thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been so much fun. I hope you've enjoyed yourself as well. And I don't get to talk about, Mead or war reenactments or with every guest I have. So there's been so many fun, unique things that we've gotten to talk about today. And I hope you've had a good time as well.
I had a lot of fun. I've got to talk about a lot of things that maybe my viewers don't know about me. So I had a lot of fun. I'm sorry if I talk a lot.
No. Hey, this is a talk show. If you're talking a lot, you're doing it right.
Yeah, I always talk a lot, like maybe too much. That just runs in the family, in the Viking
no
family,
such thing as too much talking on this show. It's in the name.
But I had a lovely time. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. And thanks to all of you in the chat as well. Thanks to everyone who followed. Be sure to follow Alfie if you aren't already. Her Twitch and Twitter are there on the bottom of the screen. As for me, I'm Jay. This is Vtuber Talk. I do a show just about every week. I don't think I'm doing a show next weekend, but I have a show on the Tuesday after this one, so about 10 days from now. And it's one that I'm very much looking forward to. So if you are so inclined, feel free to follow me here on Twitch or on Twitter to keep up with what I'm doing. But regardless, thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day. We're going to be raiding Monkey Tube. Actually, let's figure out a raid message. So select a raid message for us, Alfie.
Very pog.
Very pog. The raid message is very pog.
No, Barry Pog.
Oh, Barry Pog. Barry Pog, yes, because their name is Barry. Got it. All righty.
His name is Barry.
Yes. Well, we'll be doing that raid in just a moment after we play the outro, so stick around and say hi to Barry for us. Until next time, you all have a great day.
Goodbye. Wow.